and gentlemen, boys and girls, the wonderful technical rainbow in between, today we're talking about the best TV show for children about dance from 2013, specifically. Yeah, that's right, we're talking about The Next Step, baby. For those of you who have not been graced by God's light, The Next Step is a dance-based TV show for children from 2013, created by Frank Van Keeken.
Can I be Frank for a minute?
It started in 2013, it is ongoing to this day. Season 8 is meant to be coming out at some point this year, which is why I'm talking about it now. Over the next 2 months, I'm going to be covering the show, giving my general thoughts about it, and talking about the things I didn't notice when I first watched the show, when I had an idiot baby brain, because I was 7 years old. So, quite reasonably, you may be wondering, hey Stan, you talk about video games and shit, why the fuck are you talking about a children's TV show about dance from Canada? And to that I say, 1, fuck you, my channel, and 2, I watched it when I was a dumb baby brain child on the BBC. It was pretty fucking shit, but I'm talking about it now because I feel like it, and there's a lot of things I can impose onto the show that probably weren't intended, but I find them funny. So get ready for such thrilling plotlines as Eldon being a fucking simp, James only fixing the problems that he caused, and the unexplained law implications of a magical disappearing child. Now, if for some reason you'd like to do as I did and go through the torture of watching this entire show all the way through, which is, about 70 hours, give or take, it is all available for free on BBC iPlayer. And also, if YouTube asks, I didn't tell you this, but a man named Cheese Wedgie has uploaded the first 3 seasons on YouTube. So, the show starts out with dubstep. Stand up! Christ, this really was 2013. So, we are introduced to the owners of the Next Step Dance Studio as our first characters. We have Kate, who is a generic white woman, and Chris, who seems pretty cool. I would hang out with him, he seems neat. Kate owns the dance studio, and Chris is the dance choreographer. They start having a little chat about their studio potentially winning internationals, and Kate is like, nah, we're doing regionals first. And if that's confusing, don't worry, basically every season they do a different dance competition, so from season 1 to 3, it goes regionals, nationals, and then internationals. So it's at this point that we're introduced to the dancers who are auditioning for A Troupe, which is the highest level at the Next Step Dance Studio. They are the best of teenage dancers who dance. So you get a bunch of the dancers being like, damn, A Troupe is cool, they're the best of the best, I want to be here. And you're like, damn, I wonder who's going to get in. Maybe it's the people who keep talking into the camera and we keep getting shots of, instead of the random background extras who are about to have the worst day of their lives. So, characters. We have Emily, the fascist, Giselle, who was in The Thing a year before, she's a person, Chloe, she hasn't been in before. We have fucking Stephanie, she's been in before, Tiffany's been in before, then we have James and West, who are both new, and there's Eldon, and then there's Daniel, and there's a bunch of characters, they do a bunch of shit, I'll talk about them more as they start to appear more. So Chris gets the attention of all the dancers by doing the dolphin tail, when he puts his arm in the air and he waves it and he makes dolphin noises. I'm not making dolphin noises. Maybe at the end of the video I'll make dolphin noises. So they audition, they dance, they do some flips and shit. Some of them are kinda cool, some of them are a bit shit. One guy's tap dancing, so you know he's not gonna get in, because we're not gonna have an entire plot line or dance about tap dancing, because no. Yeah, if this video actually gets, like, more than fucking, like, 20 views, we're probably gonna get, like, one tap dancer in the comments who's gonna be like, how dare you, tap dancing is an ancient and wonderful art. I'm sure it is, buddy, but it's not gonna win you a dance competition unless it's a tap dancing competition, which I can't imagine there's that many of. And if there is a lot of those, shut the fuck up. Now, one thing we're introduced to fairly early on in the episode is the E-Girls. So yeah, the E-Girls is a group of 5 girls. It's Emily, Tiffany, Stephanie, Riley, and Giselle. Ellie for short. Their names all end in E sounds. You get it, but it's also funny because fucking E-Girls, and it's gonna get even more funny when a fucking Eldon starts simping over Emily. But yeah, there's that for now. So keep that in mind because they're fairly important to the plot. Then we get a new girl who walks in. Her name is Michelle, and she's like, the auditions are in here, right? And Emily's like, because, like, you know, obviously it is another fucking female, so she's like, no, begone thought, and that is basically what Emily does for the rest of this season. So Michelle's whole thing is she was dance captain at her last studio, and she did a fucking solo dance at Nationals, which is meant to be impressive. Oh yeah, Michelle introduces herself to some of the other cast. James and West are like, yo, that was pretty cool. And Emily's like, begone thought, and that's her thing. So, the people who are in A Troop is decided. They look at the bulletin board and shit, and they're like, yay, we got in, and big whoop, it's all the characters we were introduced to, except Giselle, because Michelle has basically replaced her, and Emily's mad about that. And yeah, we also just see some of the background characters just looking absolutely devastated, like, damn, they're having a very bad day. They're having, you could say they're having a bad day. So that was Season 1, Episode 1 of The Next Step. And you might think, damn, that wasn't that impressive. And I think the same thing. It's a fine introduction. It shows you who the characters are and shit. But that's about all it does. And most of the shit it does, I feel like, could have been done in a lot less than 20 minutes. You could have done something else. But, you know, it's fine for what it is. It's an introduction to what was a new show. So yeah, that's episode 1. On to... So, episode 2. All the people who got into A Troop, they do a little dance. They do a dancey dance. But then Giselle's like, we get James talking to his ex-girlfriend, Beth, who she comes up a bit later. I can't remember if it's this season. I think it's next season, a whole plotline with her happens, but don't even worry about it. And then, yeah, Emily has a little chat with Michelle, and she's like, welcome. And Michelle's like, thanks. You took my friend's spot. Okay, you better work your hardest. I will. I said you better work your hardest, motherfucker. So then we get Chloe being taught about several rules of being in the fucking E-Girls. And as Tiffany explains, there's over 100 rules you have to follow and abide by at all times. Jesus fucking Christ, they have these written down somewhere. So a fucking handbook, E-Girl dictionary, thesaurus of various E-Girl terms. Like, what are the rules here, man? That's too many rules to memorize. And right after the E-Girls teach Chloe their nice little fucking handshake, Giselle walks in and sits down. She's like, sup guys? And Emily's like, sorry, you're not an A-Troop anymore. You can't be an E-Girl. And Giselle's like, so after being a little crybaby, she goes off and does a little dance, and she's like, damn, if I dance like that, I was going to A-Troop. And but I didn't dance like that. Maybe you should have danced like that, you know? Just a thought. In our next scene, we get Chris and Kate discussing who should be dance captain, and here's our first occurrence of Chris in a red suit rather than his blue suit. That's the thing, a lot of the characters have differing wardrobes. Chris just has the same suit as normal, but in red, which leads into my theory that Chris in red is secretly not Chris. We will talk about this later. Then we get Giselle talking to Riley, just being sad some more, just being like... Then we get Eldon and James teaching some kids dance, but then James is doing some maths, and he's like, what is 2 cubed? And Eldon's like, it's 2 times 2 times 2. And then he's like, okay, but what if it's a letter to the power of 2? What does that mean? Why is there a letter? How is this man in, presumably, his last year of high school and doesn't know basic algebra? Bruh. So yeah, the e-girls talk about a little shopping trip, and Chloe doesn't tell them, but she doesn't have any money, because that's a subplot that happens. And then Michelle walks in, and Emily's like, what are you doing? You can't sit with us. You're not an e-girl. Oh my god. We get some dialogue and development from West, which is always nice. I like West. West is best. And yeah, he's just like, I could sit over there if I wanted to. I just don't want to. And he's like, I don't know anything about e-girls other than I don't want to know the e-girls. And that's pretty based. Good job, West. We get a shot of Michelle sitting outside Studio B because one of the e-girls has tricked her into thinking practice in Studio B, which it ain't in there. Michelle, you done got tricked. You done got bamboozled. Then we get Giselle being in B Troop, just being like, so Kate's like, Michelle isn't here, she's pretty late, maybe we should get rid of her. But then she shows up, and then they're like, who's gonna be dance captain? And Kate's like, maybe Michelle should be dance captain. And Emily's like, nuh-uh. And yeah, that's episode 2. That's the end of episode 2, because, these things, they flow into each other. It's very serialized rather than episodic. So, a show that you could binge to, I don't know, say, make a YouTube video essay. Alright, episode 3. Michelle and Emily are now in competition to become dance captain. They are both given a group of dancers to do some choreography. And of course Stephanie's put in Michelle's group, so she's just gonna fuck things up for everybody, cause fuck 'em. Also, Emily is like, I have no idea what's happening. What is going on? Do you not have a functioning brain and eyes and ears? Because if you don't, I'm so sorry to hear that. That's unfortunate. Stephanie states e-girl rule number 19. An e-girl must do whatever she can to protect Emily. That doesn't sound fair. Also, the e-girls is not a stable organization of a set group of people. It keeps changing. What happens if Emily stops being an e-girl? What happens to rule number 19? Do you have to designate a new leader? Do you elect one? Do they have to have a dance battle for it? Or do they just have a battle to the death? To start this episode, we get some peak West logic. He wants James to like him, so of course, the only way to do that is to challenge him to a dance battle in the middle of a juice bar when he's trying to get sustenance. Of course, like any reasonable person would do in this situation, James leaves. So for the next little bit of this episode, we just get each respective potential dance captain choreographing their thing. Everyone in Michelle's thing is happy, everyone in Emily's is miserable. Chloe needs to leave to do her job, and Emily's like, no bitch. James's mum comes into the studio and she's like, damn, he's failing at math, I need to take him out of here. And Chris is like, I will teach him. And James is like, yeah, he's good at math. And Chris does this.
James?
Chris. Though, as we see later, James does end up failing his math test, so, Chris, what the fuck? That's another ego meeting. Stephanie's like, yay, sabotage. And Riley's like, huh? Daniel discusses Emily's practice, and he's like, yeah, she kept us way after 12 last night. Is that... Can she do that? Legally? Is that allowed? These are teenagers in high school, presumably, so they need to sleep for school and that. What the fuck, Emily? West reattempts his little dance battle with James, and James leaves again, because obviously. So yeah, they both do the little dances that they were doing, and Emily's is a bit shit, and Michelle's is better, but of course Stephanie intentionally fucked it up, and Kate's like, hey, Michelle, what the fuck? And Michelle's like, hey, Stephanie, what the fuck? And so Kate's just like, you know, Michelle, you kinda stinky. I think we're gonna give it to Emily. That's like, but she fucked it up on purpose. You know they are close friends. You know about the e-girls. Why are you doing nothing about this? And they're like, so of course Emily's given dance captain, and again, of course, everyone's like, what the fuck, that's bullshit, and starts arguing. And then Chris comes back with some ping pong balls and does his little and makes them pick them all up, and then they start dancing for some fucking reason. Also, it's a miracle during this little dance segment no one slips on a ping pong ball and just fucking breaks their spine like Jesus. And also, they don't end up picking them all up, so I presume next episode we're just gonna have a fucking dance studio full of ping pong balls. And that is episode 3. And now we're done with this segment. Why is this a segment? Fuck you, I'm editing pieces separately, and we're nearly at 20 minutes, so have a nice little intermission. Hi, it's me, Stan. That is your nice little introduction to this video. If you're interested, and you're willing to keep watching for however long this video is going to be, I have no frame of reference, because this is all I've edited so far. Like, if you want to keep watching, go ahead and do that. If you're not interested, you can go ahead and fuck off. But yeah, I haven't recorded any new audio in a couple of weeks, just because I've been busy. Busy? What the fuck is busy? I've been busy editing that first segment, so I hope you've enjoyed that. And now we're going to get on to the rest of it. This is going to take a long while. I don't know when this is going to go up. It could be anywhere from later this month, August, to like September. It could be October. It could be the end of the year. I guess I'll just see when it's up, but I hope you enjoy. So let's just fucking get on with it.
Please stand by for further details. We return you now to your regularly scheduled program.
Miss Kate shows up and she's like, hey guys, we're going to be competing in a local dance competition. And everyone's like, yay, we're going to be doing that, woo. And then Miss Kate says, oh yeah, we're going to switch up the line positions, which are, that's where they are in correlation to each other, who's in front of who, stuff like that. And Emily's like, oh my god, bitch, you did not just do that. I am the captain, how dare you? So yeah, they make it so Emily does the line positions because she was fuming. Everyone does a little dancey dance. Then they go over to Kate's office and they pretend to discuss it with Kate when they're just talking to her about a light that's gone out. So everyone thinks, oh yeah, they've been fair, when no they haven't, and that's a bit of a bitch move. So obviously Kate is like, that was weird. They're never usually that concerned. Oh well. So yeah, Riley's put in the front row and all the e-girls are like front and middle row, and Michelle's put in the back, and Riley's like, that should not be that. What the shit? So Riley dances all shit, cause she's shit. Cause yeah. So Daniel teaches the J-Troop babies some stuff. They're like midget, they're tiny, they're dumb children who eventually join the main cast in a couple seasons. But Tiffany was like, hey, if you give this man a hard time, you get to dance for A-Troop. And then we're like, hey shit, let's be mean to him. And they're vicious. We get James not knowing maths because he's fucking stupid. And he's like, hey, Riley, I got you some water from the top of a mountain. She's like, damn, thanks, I guess. Daniel's little J-Troop subplot is resolved when Tiffany comes in and they start acting all motivated. And he's like, wow, they're motivated and shit, thanks Tiffany. And she's like, haha, I made his life miserable and now he loves me, I'm such an e-girl. And that's like, I mean, yeah, that is how e-girls work. Riley decides to confront Miss Kate about being placed in the front row. She's like, why did you approve this? And Miss Kate's all like, I didn't. She never discussed this with me. And Riley realizes that Emily has bamboozled everyone with her trickery and deception. When Riley decides to confront Emily about this, Emily's all like, bitch, I'm doing you a favour. How dare you? Michelle needs to earn her place like everyone else. And Riley's all like,
I know what I have to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it.
Cut to the next day. Riley and James are chatting, and she tells him that Emily came up with the lineups by herself, and he's like, yeah, I'm not shocked. Riley's like, I have an idea, and James just says, do it. So, inevitably, Riley does the right thing and switches her and Michelle's spots, and Emily's like, bitch? How fucking dare? But Emily gets outvoted, so she doesn't really have a choice. She's all snarky to Michelle, and she's given fucking Riley the stink eye the entire time. She is clearly absolutely fuming. J-Troop does a little dance because, oh yeah, that was a thing that was happening in this episode. The episode concludes with Riley getting kicked out of the E-Girls by Emily, and all the other members, like, reluctantly vote. Except Stephanie, she votes willingly because it's Stephanie and she's a bitch, and the music gets all emotional and everything's all sad. Everyone's doing the practice for the regionals routine, and Emily's like, oh, that was really good for B troop. I thought we were in A troop. And everyone's like, no. Fuck you. Miss Kate comes in and informs everyone they have a day off, and everyone's like, woo, day off, because guess what? This is the beach episode. The next step is basically just anime, except a bit creepier because they're putting actual teenagers in these outfits. Gonna go for a bit of a lightning round this episode, just because I got a lot of episodes to do. This one's dead simple. Everyone goes to the beach to have a nice fun day off. They play dance frisbee, so that's fun, but then Riley realizes she's lost a necklace that belongs to her grandma, and she's like, oh shit, that's bad. Emily's gonna be fuming. That's been passed down for generations. So they do a dance on the beach to raise money from people on the beach to get the metal detector off this guy who's also on the beach, and they use the metal detector, they find the necklace. Also, there's a subplot thing where Chloe and Emily and a couple others are like taking care of some of the baby dance children, not J-Troop, even smaller children, and one of them goes missing while Chloe's looking after them. She's like, oh shit, a child's missing, I'm gonna get murdered. And at the end of the episode she pops up, she jumps out, she's like, haha, I was playing hide and seek, hee hee, and now Chloe's not scared of children anymore, kind of, and that was that. Also, there's just the way the episode wraps up, where James is like, hey Emily, nice necklace, and she's like, thanks, my grandma gave it to me, and everyone starts laughing, and she gets upset, and Michelle, she's just doing Michelle things, and Emily's just like, Michelle definitely has an agenda going on, so I'm gonna see what I'm gonna do about that. Anyway, yeah, episode 5, simple one, nice and easy to cover, but also just an enjoyable episode, and probably my favourite of the series so far. The episode begins with Emily, Stephanie, and Tiffany coming back from a trio competition where they explain what a trio means for people who don't know what tri means or 3 means, so the babies in the audience, I guess. This is also an introduction to Elite, who are the team's main rivals from here on out. They're described as dancing robots, which, you know, yeah, cool, neat. They show the rest of the group a video of their trio, but we don't see anything. We just get to hear menacing music playing from a phone and then be like, wow, look at that move. And it's like, Oh wow, wish I could. Emily decides it's a great idea to go along to Elite and try and sneak in and look at them. And Michelle's like, damn, I think that's a bad idea. So Emily basically just calls her a little bitch and a pussy. And she's like, nah, I'll go. I want to scope out the competition. Emily says she wants Michelle to go, so everyone thinks that she's fair, but she says she's not, because it's not a democracy, it's an Emilyocracy, which confirms that she's a dictator and a fascist. That's canon to the next step, fun fact. Riley walks in to the cafe bit and asks James what he's doing, and he's like, damn, don't worry about it. He's doing his maths. He's bad at maths, he can't do maths, but he doesn't want other people to know about his problems. That's probably the deepest bit of character you get in the next step, because the show is not very good. The reason Riley's actually there is to ask James a favour. She wants him to go on the trip with Emily and Michelle to make sure Emily doesn't pull anything and that nothing goes wrong. It's like, damn, that's gonna cost you, girl. She's like, fine. Daniel and Giselle do a little bit of practice in the studio room. If you remember, Giselle, she's the one who didn't make it in, and she feels all sad because their goal was to be in a troupe together, so she's like, damn, I'm going to practice. We also get the introduction of Beth, who, as is explained to us very well by Daniel, she dated James for like 5 minutes, and now she won't leave him alone, and that's a whole thing. She's basically just flirting with someone that does not like them back and will never like them back. So essentially just Eldon in a wig. West walks into the studio and he's fuming because Daniel's there. It's like, damn, I thought I was gonna have this room to myself. You should have booked the studio, bro. Nah, you should have booked it, but no. It's mine. I was meant to be here by myself. I didn't think anyone was gonna be here. And yeah, West is just absolutely fuming. They split the room in half, and West is like, yeah, how are you gonna get to the bathroom from my territory? It's gonna cost you, bro. Daniel thinks he's joking, but this man is not. This man does not play, he does not joke. He's dead fucking serious. James trying to convince Emily to let him go on the Elite thing. She doesn't want him to, but he's like, I used to date a girl there, I know a sneaky way in. And of course, he's not lying, he did do that, which is, is James. Now James is like, oh yeah, Riley, you owe me, I wonder where that's gonna go. Wink wink, nudge nudge. Unga bunga. There's a whole conflict between Daniel and West because West is blaring his music. He's coming over to the different side of the studio, and Daniel turns off his music. And once he realizes it's gone, he looks up to the sky with the fear of God, as if he hadn't realized the music has stopped. He's like, "Who turned off the music?" So there's very clear conflict here, which, it's pretty obvious how it's going to resolve, but still neat, where West thinks Daniel needs to loosen up, and Daniel thinks West needs practice and precision. The two have a little argument over which of them should move to Studio B. Daniel says they're in an impasse, and West is like, can you even spell impasse? And then Daniel does, and West is like, good, because I did not know that. We get a little look at the rest of the gang go into Elite. There's just some nice little bits of dialogue here that I kind of like, but nothing much happens as they just go in the back entrance that James was talking about. We get more of West and Daniel arguing, and West proposes a game where West has to make... No, that's the wrong thing. West has to choreograph a hip-hop routine for Daniel, and Daniel has to choreograph a ballet routine for West. I think... Let me recheck that. Daniel's still a bit pissy with West. He's like, oh, you're gonna learn a lesson. And West is like, I love to learn. I just learned how to spell impasse. This is just West's way of making friends, I guess. He starts a conflict with the person and just hopes it resolves well through his sheer force of will and genius. Because he's a smart man. The gang is snuck into Elite. They see them and they're like, oh my god, they're like dancing robots. We get a little bit more of Daniel and West bonding. West is learning Daniel's choreography, and Daniel very almost doesn't fist bump West, which I was very worried that he wouldn't. But yeah, they bond, and it's nice and it's cool. Emily thinks it would be a good idea if someone would go back into Elite and film them, and Michelle volunteers. James is obviously against this because Riley told him to look out for Michelle, and then Eldon volunteers, and he's like, yeah, I'm doing it to show Emily I'm a man, but she shoots me down, doesn't respect me. It's because you're a simp, Eldon, fuck off. More bonding, but hip-hop this time. The gang start to get worried about Michelle being an Elite for a while and not coming out, so we should text her. Are you out of your goddamn mind? You sent her there to not get caught. You know she's recording with her phone, and, bruh, obviously her ringtone's gonna go off. I mean, if she was smart, she would have just put her phone on silent, but they should know better. They send Stephanie in to check on her, and James you're sending another person in there? And Emily's like, it's not a war zone, they're gonna come back alive. Don't be so sure. What a nice Daniel, it would be quite shocking if he were to hit the whip. Jokes aside, that subplot resolved pretty nicely. They do a nice little dance, and they're friends now. Stephanie goes into Elite to check on Michelle, sees she's been caught, and instantly gets the fuck out of there. Everyone's in the car, they are gone. And then Michelle's standing in front of Elite, and the dance captain and everything. That's our little cliffhanger. Emily and the gang get back from abandoning Michelle, Riley gets mad, and Emily starts being a bitch because it's Emily. The people at Elite are like, hey, why are you here? And Michelle's just like, oh, Misa in Big Doo-Doo this time. I should kill myself. Michelle comes up with the genius explanation that she's there to audition, and she does a little dancey dance. Slight problem, the audition plan worked a little too well, and now they want her on the team. Kate and Chris come in and they're like, hey, where's Michelle? And the others are just like, oh, she's late. And now everyone's doing duets and shit, because duets are important, because, oh yeah, this show's about dancing. Eldon starts simping for Emily, as he does, and you gotta understand, because I'm going through this for the edit, I was watching this at 2 times speed, I thought Emily said she was gonna kill herself in this line.
If I have to do it one more time, I might just kick myself.
And I found it very funny. Eldon keeps being the ultra mega simp. She turns him down for the duet and is like, hey, do you want to go out sometime? It's like, no, bitch. Duets are set up. Tiffany's doing a thing with Daniel. James is doing a thing with Riley. And fucking Stephanie's doing a thing with West. And some funny stuff happens with that I like. I don't know why I do that. I do that in conversation too, or I don't know how to finish a sentence, so I just make a noise because... Michelle comes back, everyone asks where she's been, she explains, and everyone's like, that's pretty suspicious. Kate calls Michelle into her office, and she's like, Michelle, are you transferring? Don't do that. And she's like, I'm not, I was spying on them. And she's like, cool, good, that's better, I suppose. We get a few seconds of fucking Emily poor-shaming Chloe, then she's called into Kate's office, and then Michelle and Eldon team up for their duet. Kate talks to Emily and she's like, please be nicer to Michelle, she's very close to leaving for Elite. Then she leaves. Then Stephanie comes in and Emily's like, oh my god, she's so close to leaving, we just need to give her a push out. And Riley hears this, she's like, bitch, what are you doing? Don't do that. James still can't fucking do maths. Riley discusses with James her plans to overthrow Emily, and James is like, I could do it. No, you stinky. You could do it. No, I stinky. Eldon could do it. No, he's stinky. Michelle could do it. Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me, yeah. Eldon asks James for girl advice, and we get a line that describes James pretty well.
James knows as much about women as he doesn't know about math.
And yeah, he's like, bro, you're dancing too good. What you gotta do is dance bad, and then she'll be on you, bro. Trust me. And Eldon's like, I don't know how that's gonna work, but and the show cuts. This plan to act all mopey to get Emily to go out with Eldon somehow works. Eldon simultaneously goes into 1940s gentleman mode, simp mode, and panic mode. Eldon really thinks he's pulling this off somehow. I don't know how any one man could be so oblivious. Riley starts fucking tweaking because they've called Michelle in to discuss their evil scheme. Riley tells Michelle that Emily's trying to push her out of the studio, and rightfully Michelle is very offended by this. And James is like, hey, we should replace her with you as dance captain. She's like, fuck that, I went up against her and lost once. Also, I've done nothing to Emily. If I actually do something, who knows what she's gonna do to me, bro. Eldon's like, oh yeah, that day went well. And Emily's like, no, it fucking didn't. That sucked. Then he does a dance and jumps over and she's like, holy shit, you are the most attractive man in the history of Eldon.
Godspeed, Spider-Man.